After long last, the best series on this channel has returned. It's none other than the Prattle Babble. Back from the dead with the last episode on June 19th, 2023, over 2 years ago. It is once again myself, the Melon, and Sidekick.
Woohoo!
Only this time I'm the host because I know all about the topic and I'm going to ask you to ask me questions.
Wait, was I the host last time?
Yep.
Oh, it's been forever.
So today we are discussing Sony's integration of Bungie into PlayStation Studios. So for some
I
background...
suppose it would be the other way around. Bungie's integration into Sony.
Well, no, it's Sony's integration of Bungie into PlayStation Studios, that's what I said.
I suppose that also works, yes.
Yes. So some background on the topic is that in 2022, specifically January 31st, which I'm showing on screen here, Sony Interactive Entertainment acquired Bungie and therefore acquired Destiny and the such.
How often had it been sold?
Bungie?
Yeah.
Well, originally Bungie was a Microsoft Xbox studio.
Mm-hmm.
They made Halo. Well, they were older than that, so I don't know if they originally started off in Microsoft, but they made a few games, one of which was Marathon. It was an established brand, IP. At some stage, either they got acquired by Microsoft or they already were, and they made Halo. So that's how they got really popular. Then they wanted to leave Microsoft and gain a bit of independence, so they were not acquired by Activision, but they were sort of partnered with Activision in order to make Destiny. And then around the time Forsaken got released in Destiny 2, they broke away from Activision, and they've been independent until then, January 31st, 2022, whenever PlayStation bought them, which was a bit of a shock at the time, because they had claimed since leaving, they wanted to leave Microsoft in order to gain independence, and they also left Activision. Yeah, so they partnered with Activision, then they left Activision because people were complaining about all the microtransactions in Destiny and they wanted more independence, and then they made things worse. So then they got acquired by Sony because they needed the money. So the general backstory is that Bungie has not been doing very well whilst they've been acquired by PlayStation. I mean, since they've been acquired by PlayStation, they released Lightfall, which was a big flop. Then the Final Shape didn't flop, but it didn't do as well as it probably should have.
Then it turned out that they were working on, 3 games parallel to
Yeah, so
Destiny?
You are very correct. That was discovered during the acquisition because Sony basically split off part of Bungie to become a PlayStation Studios thing. And I think they were working on 4 games, and that sort of collective took 2 games away. So Bungie was left working on Destiny and Marathon, which of course they're still working on Marathon. Marathon did not get received very well. So I think it sort of went into the drawing room again after their beta. They did. But the general thing is Bungie has underperformed heavily since they got acquired by PlayStation. They have had severe job cuts, or whatever they call layoffs. That's what it is. They've had
some OG members, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, even part of the music team got cut. I think there used to be 6 members of in recent years there's been 6 main composers. And then they lost the 2 main ones, which I think are both called Michael. And then I think they also lost maybe Sky, who was like one of the more, not junior ones, but was sort of just below them, it seemed. So they were left with 3 composers, which seemed to compose the soundtrack for The Edge of Fate. But seemingly they've also contracted one of the other ones who got laid off to come back and do some work. But they
also the case of, mate, let's just kick out Michael. Oh shit, the other Michael. Now how do we get first Michael back?
Well, they kicked out both Michaels, so...
Yeah, so maybe the first one was kicked out accidentally, and then they had to kick out the one that they wanted to kick out, and then somehow get the first one back.
Maybe, who knows. But if you listen to the soundtrack for The Edge of Fate, there's a lot of reused riffs and stuff. I mean, it's definitely a good soundtrack, but there's a lot of callbacks to like older soundtracks. So I think it's very evident that the OG sort of the main composers weren't there.
And like the soundtrack was never an issue. I mean, you listen to them up and down in your car.
Yep. But like that's just an example of how wide-reaching the layoffs were. I think the QA team, the quality assurance, like the playtesters, were hit quite a lot, which I think we've seen with all the bugs.
Yep.
So that's not done very well. So the general gist of it is Bungie's not been doing very well. Sony is no longer very pleased, and they've decided to integrate them a bit closer. So if we look up articles which came out, which you can come over and read it on my screen if you would like. I'm going to put it onto the screen quickly. So the general thing is, here's a bit of an article. The quote down here is here. So this is from a call. I think some like finance call or whatever that these companies do. So this is a Sony chief who was saying that in the company's recent quarterly earnings call, the days of independence are coming to an end. At the time of acquisition, we were offering a very independent environment. So that was one way of thinking, which Bungie actually was like, yeah, we're keeping our independence. We're very happy about this. This was part of the deal. They were also given money to retain talent, which obviously didn't work. However, thereafter, we've gone through structural reform as we announced last year. So this type of independence is getting tighter or lighter. So Bungie is shifting into a role which is becoming more a part of PlayStation Studio, and integration is also proceeding. So in the long term, if you can see this as an ongoing process, the direction is to become part of PlayStation Studios, which is a somewhat indirect way of saying that Bungie is going to become a proper PlayStation Studio, the same way that there's like Sony Santa Monica, who makes God of War, there's Insomniac, who make Ratchet and Clank, and there's like other studios. I mean, Naughty Dog used to be a PlayStation... No, they are still a PlayStation Studio. So they're basically just becoming a PlayStation Studio, which is quite a fall from grace for Bungie.
It sounds a bit like, you know, someone moving out and then severely effing up life, and then like having to move back into the parents' basement.
Essentially, I mean, the Activision deal was the equivalent of moving in with a friend in order to pay the bills. And then at some stage you're like, oh, we're doing okay. People are complaining. The complaints must be about the friend. I'll leave and try it on my own, and then it didn't work. So
Bungie is just a broke college student?
Pretty much.
And that's reflected in... who did I say is a funky college student? You turned it into a short?
Seaver Wrath.
Seaver Wrath.
But the article references an earlier event which happened, which was the Sony carving off part of Bungie, which was the Creative Studios team, which became the PlayStation Creative instead of Bungie Creative Studios, which was where they were working on 4 games and it got carved off, so it was they only working on 2. So, I mean, Sony have already taken out parts of Bungie. Then there's also a Forbes article which says about the same. But the question is, how much of an impact is this going to have on the game? Because it seems like a lot of the issues currently are due to the direction of the game being a bit strange. The seasonal models seem to be quite a way to just milk money, it felt like. And even more recently, the game director changed after the final shape. So we lost, I forget his name, Joe Blackburn, who is the game director, and now we've got somebody else, which I have no idea whose name is. But he's decided to roll back things such as crafting. So crafting's not going to be a thing going forward, which we've seen in the Edge of Fate.
Welcome to Hunger Games. The game maker is leaving. Let's just hope he didn't have to eat some sort of poisonous berries.
But there's those sorts of things which are being changed. We've already seen now the seasons are essentially gone, and we've got 2 expansions per year.
I miss the seasons.
Yeah, I do quite like the Edge of Fate, I have to say, though. For it being a smaller expansion, it actually has a lot to it.
I do like the Edge of Fate, but it's just, I really like the idea of seasons, of like things changing. Like, I felt like there was constantly something going on, which then also encouraged me to play. Because currently it's like, I mean, I suppose people don't know that. Who knows if people are still watching? But like, I'm going through a Stardew Valley obsession, and I'm dragging my Melon King a little bit with me. And when we're like, okay, I suppose we could play some Destiny, I'm like, yeah, but where's the hurry? And with the seasons, there was always, okay, every Tuesday we play Destiny because there's new stuff going out. Like, it actually encouraged me to play. And then we would start something on Tuesdays and then continue on. I can't remember the last time we played proper Gambit or were tempted by anything else. Like, it feels like it's now just this game you can play, not the game you want to play.
Yeah. Although a lot of the seasonal thing was then fear of missing out, which was a contribution to it. Which people always complained about, but my main issue with seasons was that they got really lazy. So they just reused things which were already in the game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it was just very, very evident. The one that springs to mind are in, funnily enough, back in like Season of Plunder. If you remember that, where you had to, each week you went to like a different asteroid and you went through basically a lost sector.
I mean, yeah, it was a bit repetitive, but it also made you like play parts that you maybe wouldn't have.
Yeah, but it's more that just there was a lot of things like that, and then it felt like the bare minimum was sort of put in. So something I complained about a lot was you would never see a character come alongside you in a mission. You would only hear them over the comms, and they'd even make it sound like they're beside you, but they're not. They're in like the room over, and you don't see them.
True.
And that was very common for seasons, whereas in expansions, they usually went a bit further and actually had the characters be in the missions. I mean, you can see that with the Edge of Fate, where there's obviously we've seen like Lodi and Ikora, and I mean in the missions we've seen Orin as well. We've not quite had the thing where we're like fighting and people are fighting alongside us, but you would never get that in seasons. So I like the structure of a season where you do have weekly things. And I like the way they tell the stories in it, but it was very lackluster. And it felt as though they were putting in the bare minimum because they had to focus on making a big expansion for the end of the year. But then in doing so, they lost money because people didn't want to play the game because the seasons were a bit poor. And then putting the effort into the seasons then meant the expansions were not as good. And then they lost money, then they had to lay off people, then they've even less resources to make the stuff.
I mean, I suppose part of why I was so fond of seasons was because I was a relatively new Destiny player. Like, I've been playing since, 2022 now?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's been just about 3 years, and seasons, we lost those last year.
Yep, episodes. Although episode 1, like, what was that, Echoes, was essentially just a season. It was Revenant where they changed it from being a weekly thing to just being
just
like
dump it all at once. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the last episode was. I mean, I know it was Heresy, but I don't remember what the structure was.
Did we finish that one?
I finished it. I don't think you did. I can't remember if they went back to weekly or not. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, because if you look at the different PlayStation studios that there are, all of the games that they put out are consistently top quality, apart from Concord, which was another live service game. I think it was meant to be a hero shooter. It closed within like 2 weeks of launch. Like, it was a proper like AAA game, huge thing, had a bunch of advertising, completely flopped. They took it offline within 2 weeks, and then they got rid of the studio that made it.
Oh dear.
But every single other PlayStation Studios game has been incredible, and like they get pumped with money as well. So I'm almost hopeful that Bungie does get properly integrated, because I think a lot of their leadership is the problem. And if they get properly integrated, Sony will take more of a direct approach. There is also always the possibility that Sony look at Destiny as a live action game and are like, right, we want to make live action games. Let's just pretend Destiny is our playground and try a bunch of different things, and then they wreck the game.
Not good.
So it could go a bunch of different directions. But I think the track history for PlayStation Studios is usually quite good. And one of the reasons why Sony bought Bungie in the first place was for them to help with making live action games, because they have the knowledge. Because whether or not Destiny does well nowadays or not, it is still the most consistently running live action game in existence.
I do wonder
live service.
if it would have been better or worse to release The Edge of Fate as Destiny 3 instead.
That is something which they should have just made Destiny 3 at some stage. A big issue with Destiny 2 is it's being held back because they're still supporting like the Xbox One, PlayStation 4. And, like, as far as I'm aware, you can get the Edge of Fate on those consoles. And those consoles compared to a modern day gaming computer or even the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are extremely underpowered. But Destiny 2 is also just built in a bunch of spaghetti code, which you can see that whenever there's any update actually done, it usually breaks some things. I mean, currently we can, even though episodes are completely gone, even though we can't go to the Helm or anything officially, I can boot up a Fireteam Finder match and we can go to the Helm right now. Which makes absolutely no sense, but we can. Like, social Helm. There it is. Like, we could just go to the Helm. But that's clearly been left in the game. If you go into it, it still functions. There's parts of it which are just sort of not quite working. I mean, even, I think whenever, sure, the ending of the final shape originally didn't show you the Traveller, it showed you a bit of the, oh, did you get kicked?
Oh, oof. Ad break. Now watch more Redstone Melon videos and shorts. You will have plenty of time and plenty of joy. Watch Sidekick mess up and do silly jumps, fall into holes, and misunderstand last Thursdays.
That was a good short.
And back.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, the ending of the final shape was meant to show you the Traveller with the big portal, but then instead it showed you the underside of the city, I think wasn't it? Or if you like rewatched it, that's what it did.
Yeah.
Something like that. But the game is like just so... I think it's just went through way too many updates and stuff that it's just not really optimized. And they really could have done with just releasing a Destiny 3. This would have been the perfect time to do it because it's a new saga. But I think the fear is that there was quite a lot of backlash whenever Destiny 2 released, that people didn't get to keep all their Destiny 1 stuff. Sometimes I think you just have to do a clean slate, and if you look at Call of Duty, for example, every single year Call of Duty, people lose all their stuff. Every single year with FIFA, everyone loses all the stuff they actually paid for. And I'm not saying there should be a new Destiny game every year, but occasionally you do actually need a refresh.
Yeah.
So, I do love Destiny 2, and Destiny 2 is quite distinctly different than Destiny 1, and I'm sure Destiny 3 would be quite distinctly different than Destiny 2. But I think part of what the franchise needs is just a reboot.
I mean, I wonder if it could have convinced some people, though, because of course you would complain that, oh, I can't get my stuff.
Yeah.
But they could have made some sort of conversion. And on the other hand, also, how many people might be tempted to try Destiny 3 if they know, hey, I used to like Destiny 2, it just feels like a new game.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big issue with Destiny 2 as well, is the new player experience is horrendous. And it's still in the same state as whenever you started the game, which is appalling, quite frankly. And I think currently you start the game and you still find out all this stuff about the Witness and all this, even though that's now a year old. And this would have been the prime opportunity with the final, or with the Edge of Fate, to revamp that. But it's so difficult to get into Destiny as a new person that it turns away so many people.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that being into... I mean, I saw this coming a mile away. Like, it was pretty obvious that as Bungie flopped more and more and laid off more and more people, that Sony were eventually going to get annoyed and be like, yo, we bought you for $3.6 billion. Could you please actually make something which is going to make us money? So, I'm not shocked, but...
Oh, aren't you glad you didn't buy me for $3.6 billion? I'm still priceless.
Quite the expensive sidekick. But, don't know. It may be a bad thing that Sony ends up integrating Bungie into PlayStation Studios, but I think at this stage we just need a change, and any change is welcome.
Do you think it's ever going to become independent again?
No, I think this is it. Like, I don't know if Bungie was ever officially like a Microsoft studio, but like I don't know. I think this is sort of just the end of independent Bungie. Like they're just becoming a PlayStation studio at this stage. Like don't know. There's the likes of Naughty Dog with like The Last of Us and stuff like that, and Insomniac, and it's like would they ever
Rest
actually?
in peace, Joel.
Would they ever actually leave PlayStation? Could they survive on their own? Like they're amazing studios in their own right, but it's like how much of that is just Sony pumping money into it? So
true.
Hopefully there's a positive change. But I mean, it was clear this was going to happen at some stage. But how do you feel about your knowledge on this topic now, Sidekick? Do you have any burning questions you wish to ask?
Do you think it's good that it's Sony, or would you prefer if it would have been not Sony?
I mean, I'm a PlayStation fanboy at heart, so I'm probably the happiest that it's Sony as opposed to somebody else. Like the only way you could get better, like, well, to the main publishers that you have are Microsoft, which they have like Call of Duty. So if they also had they acquired Activision. If they acquired Bungie, like they're essentially
and
monopoly.
I mean they ruined COD.
I mean COD was already ruined years and years prior to Microsoft acquiring them. It's Activision, which is the issue. So there's Microsoft, so I'd say no, just on the principle they already own so much. Ubisoft, which really only make their own things, and Ubisoft are a bit of a shit show currently. EA, and I'll just leave it there. So the only real option, I mean, if you went, you could be really wacky and say, oh, what if Valve bought them, which would be better, but Valve don't do that. So I would say Sony is probably the best option that could have happened. If you really want to go down the dark timeline, Tencent could have bought them, which is the Chinese mobile game company who own part of Ubisoft.
Play Bungie on your phone now.
I mean, there's a Destiny mobile game.
Is there?
Destiny Rising. It's set in an alternate universe. A bunch of the same characters, all voiced by different people as far as I'm aware. Some of the stuff looks pretty cool in it, but I think that's made by... is it Tencent? I don't know, I think it's some Chinese mobile game company. But I think Bungie have basically nothing to do with it other than licensing out the IP. Yeah, I'm biased. I like PlayStation. Anything else while you're forging your Telesto?
I think that's it. I just hope that maybe if I'm in a emote like this, maybe I won't get kicked.
Possibly.
Poof, poof.
Oh no.
Well, thank you everyone for watching another episode of the Prattle Babble after it's been released so closely to the first episode.
Yes. Hopefully the next episode will not have a 2-year gap to this
I
one.
don't know what you're on about. And don't forget the advertisement in the middle of the video. Go and watch more videos and shorts. Watch me mess up. Whoa! And then, if you liked this video, please consider leaving a like, maybe even subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one, lads.
Bye bye.